Welcome to Sex, Blessing or Curse. Dear friends, repetition is the best teacher. To read the Book of Light one time and then to lay it aside and not read it any longer or anymore is the same as you would have not read it at all. Repetition is important to lead us away from false thinking that has been implied in us throughout thousands of years. So we talk today about sex and what it really is, what it's meant to be, or if it even was meant to be for us. That's what we're talking about. The matter of sex. We know by now, as we read the Book of Light, that an earlier race and the former period of our evolution was without sex. It was sexless. And I state now here something that we have, of course, to back up by the teaching and by proof and by common sense. We were sexless, we are divided in sexes, and we will be sexless again. That as a summary. In the coming next root race, sixth root race, we will be without sex as we now understand it. We then will think back, tapping the Akasha records and seeing and remembering and memorizing the barbaric version of procreation for mankind by sticking the forms into each other. We will see it as barbaric. The Book of Light teaches sex is a passing phase in our evolution. And it was never meant to be for us. Never. And nature agreed on the protest. A passing phase in evolution. And dear friends from the Book of Light, what we mean by evolution is not the evolution of the forms. This is something secondary. Forms will come and go. The spirit remains, the being, the monad. And as you hear in the background the church bells ringing, we will understand that even religion is a passing phase that was necessary in the evolution of mankind. Now, when we from the Book of Light talk about evolution, we mean spiritual evolution. The monad learns through the vanishing forms of mineral, plant, animal, and man to reach its divine nature. And the highest point, nirvana. And there will be a problem, dear friends. You hear now in the background the church bells ringing. But the time will come, and I predicted it. Now here in Berlin it already happens, 20 years after I predicted it, when the electronic muezzin is chanting against the church bells, we will have revolution. When we have the church bells and suddenly in between Allahu Akbar, there will be confusion. There will be revolution. Dear friends, the Book of Light is here to unite all religions. It is a silent little beautiful flower, and it grows almost unknown. It is a silent revolution, a silent, peaceful revolution. And the karma that has to come to others right now, who fight against each other, that tsunami, that karmic tsunami, unfortunately it has to be outlived. We are here with our uniting message. Now, nature followed the line of sexual union between men, although it was never meant to be. It was caused by evil doing in the past. And the souls at present can only find incarnation, most of them, by sexual reproduction. And more, it will disappear, this sexual separation and sexual reproduction. In far distant time, it will be looked upon as procreative acts of beasts. I refer here to a miracle called virginal birth. And we will experience that reproduction, virginal reproduction, and we will see that the beings in the future will reproduce, for instance, by exuding of forms in which the spirit then incarnates, and so forth and so on. This is all described in the Book of Light. Children will come into the world without fathers. This will be the law, and we will return to innocent self-reproduction as our cells in the body divide, self-division. That's how mainly we reproduce anyway. All 7 years, otherwise we would be dead after 5 to 7 years. But the cells in the body reproduce. And so, we ourselves reproduce each 5 to 7 years our own physical body. By sexless reproduction, of course. And that will then be the main cause of production, a procreative act, but not as it is done today in the beasts, over the beasts, but kind of a virginal birth. Sexual reproduction among human beings is nothing but the evil shackles of Atlantean and Lemurian sin. When I say sin, I mean it in an occult way under influence of the moon, whose Chaldean name is Sin. And we know that the moon is a dying planet, influencing, especially at night, our astral bodies and urging them to do evil things. Now, I mentioned the way in which humanity has reproduced, which was non-sexual. For instance, the later third root race, according to the Book of Light. And that evolved into the sexual humanity of today. 18 million years ago, we teach, a once androgynous, sexless mankind separated into male and females. And that is what I call a passing phase in racial evolution. It's not normal to us, dear friends. Sexual union or reproduction is not normal to us in this planetary chain, on this globe D. We copied that brute method of procreation from the beasts. These beasts separated prior to us, prior to man. When man was already still, let's say still, sexless, androgynous. About 25 million years ago or so, more or less, beasts had already separated. So, don't cling too much to this sexual thing. It is a transitory phase, a passing phase, and has no great importance, other than those monads who have fallen have for now the only possibility to reproduce themselves, if it is their karma, sexually. It's the abuse of sexual power, dear friends. That is the problem today. We are, thank God, I would almost say, although we don't believe in a creator God, as the church does, we are no atheists. We are evolving on the ascending arc. Thank God we have passed the lowest point. Yeah? Back to the spirit. And that is the reason why our present physiological status as men and women is to be outgrown. What a heavy Atlantean and Atlanto-Lemurian karma, dear friends. So heavy. And it's still on us. And the national karma is not yet outlived. You see the wars. This is, these beheadings and these ISIS and so forth. These are the powers of darkness and of light who are fighting against each other. We have nothing to do with it. We stand aside and watch and spread the knowledge. Now, actually, we are at the middle point of the fifth race, and we have reached a stage, evolutionary. The Book of Light teaches us that at the end of our own fifth race, men and women will be disappearing as opposite sexes. So don't cling too much to what you see now here, as on pornography on the internet, and the women who point out their genitals and so forth, and men too. It's all evil. So when our own fifth race ends, men and women will disappear, will have disappeared as opposite sexes. When we will have reached the middle of the sixth root race, which is the race to come, then men and women will not exist as separate sexes any longer. How will we be then? Well, we will be neither man nor woman. We will reproduce parthenogenetic. And if we would not have that heavy Atlantean karma, it should happen already right now. But it doesn't. It will. When we have reached the middle of the sixth root race, I can only point here or give hints. You have to study the Book of Light in order to understand that. About the middle part of the sixth race, which is, I already mentioned that we will have then no more men and women, but we will procreate. Procreate, you can say that. We will evolve or give birth to our own genus. This is by a process which is similar to that of the third race. Passive yoga. Meditating, unconscious willing at first. Later it is succeeded by conscious will in the seventh or following root races. We will produce children by meditation and by will. This is why so importantly we teach now in the Book of Light soul breath meditation as if a future form of existence and of creation. And during the seventh root race, which is the last on this globe to come, in this fourth round, it's a race which we would now say is a glorious race. By conscious meditation, conscious will, impersonal, more ethereal than the six. Therefore, dear friends, try to live as vegetarian as possible. It will spare you a lot of suffering, I assure you. Have you seen a flower growing from plants? Almost unconsciously. Could see it only happens. Could say that's passive yoga of the plant monad. See, the plant is silent there, it's there, and it emanates. This is how it will happen with human beings. It will physiological, almost unconscious, of any procreative or creative act. Now, that will change later. See, the periods of meditation will be the periods of pregnancy in the future human race. Dear friends, glory to the Book of Light. Then later in the seventh root race, it will spring off from our bodies with conscious, fully active imagination. We call that Kriya Shakti. And you can compare it to a plant that gives room to other structures. And this is how our flowers grow and so forth. This is how out of the body of this new human body, during meditative period, will grow new forms, and the monads will take over. Now you must try to imagine that. As if you would be now that sexless human being, you meditate, and suddenly when that period comes, form leaves your body, like a new life leaves the body of a female being, same way. Just differently, not through a uterus anymore as we know it now, but just by separating from. We have this story in the Bible. This is how mankind reproduced. Eve made from the rib of Adam actually means astral rib, astral structure. They one structure left the other, and this is how the separation of the sexes came about 18 million years ago. So then always remember, the present physiological state of sex is a passing racial evolutionary phase. When we abuse that, when we misuse sex, no matter how, no matter when, no matter why, it is contrary to evolutionary law, which is always spiritual. Dear Darwinists, the forms are not important. They will crush and vanish and become corpses. It's a spirit that evolves. True evolution is spiritual evolution. The method by which we now reproduced is not really the method which should have been used. We are now, thank to the Book of Light, that will also help in that process on the ascending arc. And so live a noble life. Don't be a victim to your desires and your passions. And you will evolve towards a spiritual being that you actually are. So then, let's conclude the end of the fifth race in future ages. We will evolve physical vehicles out of ourselves. We all will give life. There's no more man and woman. We are man and woman in one, and this is why we fructify, so to speak. We reproduce ourselves through that. We will have a shape that is neither man nor woman, but only man. What do I mean by man? No, not man with gender. I mean by man. That comes from the Sanskrit manas, thinking. M-A-N, man, is a thinking entity. Nothing more, nothing less. So children will be reproduced or produced without fathers. But this should have happened anyway. But we are belated in our evolutionary course. That's a problem. By early Atlantean karma. Before our fifth root race ends, it will, though, happen. Man and woman are growing more and more alike. You see that development even now. Homosexuality is actually an interface into a sexless humanity. And so we should try to have mutual respect and kindness, based also on that knowledge. And when we then reach, see, right now we are in the fifth root race, fourth and fifth overlapping and so forth, where still we are beings driven by passion and desire. But at the end of the fifth root race, when we will be as man and woman, as sexes almost passed away, no more sexes, and then in the sixth race, we will be without passion, just meditating. A passive will and thought. This meditation, dear friends, this state of being in which we should have been anyway, can be experienced as soul-based meditation every day, and that you lay or sit there and have and want nothing at all. Free of any desire, you can experience that, and it's not that bad. You will feel something in you will know that is my true state of being. Unfortunately, I don't have it yet, but I can reach it through meditation, so that I can prepare myself for the future humanity. The future humanity being a passionless humanity, meditating, and new humans will evolve forth offspring. I will evolve myself offspring as the flowers bring forth their blooms. And when we have reached the seventh race of this round, the humans of this wonderful time will bring from within themselves beautiful, glorious creations through the active will and imagination. We will then have a race of adepts, incarnate devas upon earth. This will happen in the seventh race during this present fourth round. Why haven't we reached that point? We should have, long ago. But we have sunken morally. We are belated. And so, the act of virginal birth has not yet appeared on earth as a physical fact, though it has been prophesied in religious mysteries and so forth, initiation ceremonies. And so, when you hear about the Virgin Mary and all these things, one definition of it is the virginal procreation, you could say, of new life exuding from your body without sexual intercourse and without sexual union. This is how it will happen. And we will remember these times of now, and we will say, barbarians. And in order to understand more thoroughly this teaching that once we were sexless, now we are separated or divided into sexes, and we will be sexless again. Let us go back about 18 million years ago in the Book of Light to that time when mankind, an androgynous mankind, sexless mankind, separated into the sexes. We have there even hints in the Bible that I have in front of me. In the Bible. When we look at the 2nd chapter of Genesis, this, if truly understood, deals with the 3rd and the 4th rounds of our Manvantara, and the latter of 4th being our present round. The 4th round, is our present round. The 2nd chapter of Genesis deals with it. It deals also with the 3rd root race of our 4th round, And I will quote this. It ends with a brief allusion to rounds 1st and 2nd. I will quote it. Let's see if we can get through this. But without thoroughly teaching or studying the Book of Light, you will not understand. I look at verses 19, 20, 21, and 22. 2nd Genesis. 19. And out of the ground the Lord God formed every beast of the field and every fowl of the air, and brought them unto Adam to see what he would call them. And whatsoever Adam called every living creature, that was the name thereof. Dear friends, we say that there was a creation. We say that there was an evolution. But there was also an emanation. A creation happened when higher forms gave us their forms to us in order so that we learn. There was a karmic bond. These powers were called Elohim. Some refused, some did not, which caused the different humanity of today. We read in 20, Adam gave names to all cattle, and to the fowl of the air, and to every beast of the field. But for Adam there was not found a helpmeet for him. Helpmeet, a woman, let's say now here. And the Lord God caused a deep sleep to fall upon Adam, and he slept. And he took one of his ribs and closed up the flesh instead thereof. And the rib which the Lord God had taken from man made he a woman, and brought her unto the man. Let's see how much of it is symbol, allegory, and what is true. When I look at verse 5 above, I use ordinary English translation. I haven't mentioned that verse, but it's a so-called authorized version. Although it leads us to the understanding of what I'm saying here. Now let's go to the 2nd chapter. There is a different method than recorded in chapter 1. We know that the early beings were ethereal. That's teaching of the Book of Light. And from them evolved the present physical humanity, later condensing more and more, make from the dust of the ground, which of course is including also the earth material. This is clear, when it was still also somehow ethereal. We have a term, rib, in verse 21 and 22. Now, if instead of rib you say side, then you have an allusion to the separation of the androgen or dual-sexed humanity of race, the 3rd of our 4th round, into sexed humanity as now existing. So then, dual-sexed humanity in one form of the third race of our fourth round into which we are here, changed into sexed humanity, being male and female separate, as now existent. And we have other great beings mentioning that, Plato in the Banquet. Same historical, physiological fact of prehistory. He says one of the early races of mankind was bisexually formed. They had great, terrible powers. They were wicked, ambitions. So Zeus grew angry. Well, that's then the fairy tale comes and split them. And now one part is looking for the other. That's a nice story, but basically, if you cannot study the Book of Light and see why this separation happened, because some of the Manasaputras hesitated to give mind to those mindless, and so forth and so on, but it also happened before. Now this is one of the explanations for the fact that our humanity was in the beginning sexless, now is divided into sexes, and will be sexless